I've done my Japji Sahib. Why did I get a bad email when I refreshed the screen? This sort of transactional sort of mentality that we have, that I've done this, so why did that happen? No. If you connect yourself to the Shabad, it's not the case that those same things won't happen, but you won't be consumed by them. That you'll better deal with those things. That you will look at those things and you'll realize you've got a choice. You haven't got a mandaduk. It can just pass over you. And Sahad Sangat ji, that is the gift of Gursikhi. It's not the case that doing good things won't mean that those things won't happen. It just means that you won't be consumed by them and they won't have power over you because the Guru has set you free. We have to reframe the way that we think, because oftentimes we've been so indoctrinated with a Western sort of transactional understanding. There are so many people in the world that just get taken by that river of pain. They don't even chance to reflect. They're just drowning in it. If we ever have an opportunity to drown, look at the language I'm using specifically. If we ever have an opportunity to drown in a surprise, in a circumstance, recognize that it's our choice whether we drown or whether we take that as a sikhya and we grow and we fly. And it really is a choice. Param Satkar Yog Guru Khalsa Sahad Sangat ji, Gaj Vaj ke Fateh Balao, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. We're all blessed to be in the company of Sri Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj in their 11th, in their eternal form. As Guru Maharaj in their grace, in their kindness, have opened up the doors of their house and invited us and brought us here. Just as we might be somewhere else, as we are on some Thursdays, doing something else, just as we might be doing something else on any given Thursday, but Maharaj in their kindness have allowed us to sit in their company and reflect upon the Shabad. And this discourse, as we were thinking about what to try and undertake the Kauj of, what to do the work towards, and what to share with the Sangat. This topic of, I do my Japji Sahib in the morning, I undertake my Nityanayam, I do Seva, but why is it that bad things happen to me? This question often comes up in our mind. As our mind plays up and gives us shankha, gives us doubts and reasons to question. And oftentimes we find ourselves, even under the most frivolous or smallest of things, we can philosophize, why is this happening? And it's a question that we all have to wrestle with sometimes as we undertake this journey of maturity towards the Guru. And I want to just take everyone back to a very fond, very powerful memory of mine. This is the gift of the house of the Guru. You never know in the most ordinary of circumstances when you're going to get the most extraordinary of blessings and teachings. I remember I'd just been given permission to start doing Gatha. I'm still learning now. I'm a million steps behind so many of you already, even now. But then I was, let's just say, wet behind the ears, nervous, and I was sent to Gravesend to do Gatha at our house program. There was a Sukhmani Sadapart at someone's house. And I was told that the young lad whose house who's being blessed with the Sukhmani Sadapart, it was at the Dastar Bandi. They were having the Dastar tied for the first time, and I was told to go and do, at the request of the family, they sent a request by email to Basics and said, could you send someone to do Gatha? And so I went to this house, meeting this family for the first time, and going inside and sitting down. And there was a young boy there. He was quite frail physically, even his voice was quite delicate. And he went on to explain to me that his health was, let's just say, not in a great way. In fact, without going into the finer details, part of his internal organs had been removed. And so it was very difficult for him to live an ordinary life. Even going to school and such like activities that we take for granted, playing in the playground, staying the full day at school without getting tired, without being worn out, because he couldn't consume ordinary food in the ordinary way, digest it and convert it to energy, things that we take for granted. And so as I was talking to him, he was explaining to me the way of his daily routine. He goes to school until 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then sometimes his parents have got to come pick him up. He's in a lot of pain. You could see he's physically frail. And in my mind, I'm thinking, what in my mind at the time, I can't remember exactly what my thoughts were. Perhaps as I was philosophizing, I would have thought, and naturally one would have been forgiven for thinking, in the ordinary sense of the way that one's mind thinks, be what has befallen this young man? What has he done to have to deserve this? What is the punishment? What is this punishment for? And as I was talking to him, he said to me, "Sing," as if almost reading my mind. There I am going to give sikya, but I was going to get such a beautiful sikya from this young boy. He said, "Sing." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "I wouldn't change it for the world." Because I wouldn't change. All of this has happened to me over the last few years, me getting ill and them having taken out my lower intestine. I'm suffering, I'm having to have to endure all this, and I wouldn't change it for a world. It's been a blessing, man. I said, "What do you mean? How is it you're coming to this conclusion?" He goes, "Singh Sahib, it was only through all of this dukh that my mum, the fikr that she went through, the pain of having to travel on this journey with me, that we turned towards Guru Sahib. Because now my dad has kept his gaze. Because look, your time at the start, I would never even have thought of coming into the Guru's Hazuri, coming into the Guru's way. Because now I've kept my gaze, because I'm coming towards the house of Guru. My whole house has been blessed with Sikhi. If this is the price I've had to pay, it's a small price. I'm so blessed, I'm so grateful, I wouldn't change it for the world. The ordinary life that I was living in the ordinary way." And I just thought, what a thought. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, as we undertake the Khoj, as we spend more time with the Tika, as we spend more time listening to those great souls, whilst that may have been a revelation to me then, it's come to my realization now that this is the path of wisdom that we're all supposed to walk in Sikhi. And that if we are seeing that as a revelation, that's a beautiful thing to receive that Sikhya, but understand it as such that our history is riddled with examples of great souls that have seen all the blessings that have been bestowed upon them, even as we don't see them as blessings ourselves. What is it that we're so consumed for? We're asking always to be blessed only with sukh, happiness, and that we shouldn't have any dark days. When I say dark days, I mean in inverted commas, in the worldly sense. What does Maharaj say about this? Maharaj says, Nanak bolana chakhana. To speak that you only want happy days. Nanak bolana chakhana is absurd. Maharaj says it's absurd. Dukha shad mangi hai sukh. People that do this, they say, get rid of all of the dukh and only give me sukh. Maharaj says, Nanak bolan chakhana dukh shad mangi hai sukh. They say those that speak of this wish to have only sukh in their life and there to be nothing but this and no dukh. Sukh dukh doy dar kapare pehre jai manukh. Maharaj is explaining to us, there is no sukh in this world without dukh. There is no dukh. Just as there is no night without day, just as there is no day without night, or there cannot be just one side to a coin, in this worldly sense, there cannot be sukh, there cannot be appreciation of those good days if they didn't emanate, if they didn't grow out of something else. And the example given to you of that young boy stays with me to this day. Obviously, we're going through this own journey in my own parivar. I mentioned it last month at the Gatha that my Singani has been diagnosed with cancer. And I think when we hear about these great examples of these great Sikh, of these great Sikh, whether they are, as I just mentioned, the young lad in Gravesend, or our Shaheeds, we think it's okay for people in that circumstance to be able to deal with it this way, but for me it's different. Why, Sad Sangat Ji? Why do we always lower ourselves, relegate ourselves to a place where we can't use the Guru Sahib's medicine, their Sikhya, their education, for our own betterment? I heard from one of my older brothers. He said, when people speak about having darshan of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, those great souls that have done bhakti, and they have a chance to be blessed with the vision of the Guru, which is like having the vision of nothing else in the world, and it's full of bliss. They say, when people speak of this, they say, this is like such a high avastha, that it's only for the very, very few. And I'm just paraphrasing a conversation that took place between me and one of my older brothers. And He said we shouldn't put these things on such an elevated place that we think that they're beyond us. Otherwise, what are we doing here? That if we think that these examples of these great feats, and I use the word great feats in inverted commas again, because if the idea of having darshan of your guru, that your guru giving you their sight, their blessed sight, that you have that affectionate love, that relationship, is if you're going to from day one say that this is beyond us, then what are we doing? Are we playing dress up? And that really stuck in my mind. And I guess the realization that we need to have is that sometimes out of dukh, the way that Maharaj explains this, they say, Ketya dukh puka sadamar ehebi dat teri datar. That out of the dukh that we have is sometimes the motivation to elevate us from our current state. And whilst we might think that we're currently fine before we get a diagnosis, who knows what that diagnosis in that circumstance, where it will take us to, what level of consciousness it will elevate us to. Again, I heard it put so beautifully. You can't solve a problem from the same state of consciousness out of which that problem was born. If your state of consciousness that creates a problem for you, you can't solve that same problem in that same state of consciousness. In other words, you have to grow. You have to rise above whatever it was in your state of being that created that problem. So in effect, to move forward, we have to move up. And if a problem, therefore, allows us to grow and move up, then is it really a problem? Is it really a punishment at all? Or is it a blessing? So Maharaj is saying to us, even the dukh that we have, even the pukh that we have, those days of hunger and pain, if they drive us to make moves, to make progress, such that those same circumstances are no longer a problem to us, then would you look back and only be grateful for those things? The same Gursikh that told me that tells me of a friend of his that has been battling with cancer for, I think it was 5 years. His children are growing up and he's missing every day of recreation that you'd otherwise would enjoy because you're obviously having to deal with the cancer and things like this. And as I'm hearing these words, it's horrifying me. We're going on this own journey of cancer, this whole new adventure that we're going on right now, me and my Singini, as we're exploring and understanding what Sikya we're going to try and take from this and how we're going to grow from this and be blessed by whatever test Maharaj placed before us. As I'm sitting there listening to this, he goes on to say he's in remission. He goes, he's in remission now, but he looks back and he says those 5 years of cancer were a blessing. How can you look at it that way? But then you look at the example of this young Gursikh in Gravesend, and you have that Sikya already planted in your mind, and you're like, oh yeah, I can see how this works. By the blessings of that illness, his whole family is now coming to Gursikhi. And at university, as he's lived on his years to go on to, he's surrounded by the Singhs. Would he ever have looked for the Singhs? Would he have looked for the Singhs if it wasn't for the dukh that sent him on the path of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj? Guru Pyari Sahib Sangat Ji, we go to our great Vadvans, Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji to take care. A great Gyani in this pond. They're a student of Sant Gyani Garbachan Singh Ji Khasa Pindra. Last month, we were blessed to have discourse with you guys. We spoke a great deal about their life and their parents and the blessings that they were bestowing upon the Panth through their seva. Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji is a student of Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji is a student of Gyani Garbachan Singh Ji. They talk in the katha of this example. They say there was a time when there was a Raja, a king. And this king in his kingdom had many advisors, Vajir. One day he goes hunting. During the course of the shikar, of the hunt, he gets hurt, he gets caught in an accident, the details of which aren't clearly defined. Suffice to say that he gets cut quite badly on his hand, on his finger. And all the Vajir, they come around the king and they're like, this is a very bad thing that's happened, our king's been weakened. And they start comforting and trying to look after him and pamper him, if you will, saying this is a really bad thing that's happened, trying to show their sympathy. The top Vajir, standing at the back, he says, "E bo palaya." This is a great, a good thing that's happened to you. He says, and this Vajir, his philosophy was such, he goes, Parameshwar Vaheguru only ever does good in this world. He says, Parameshwar Vaheguru only ever undertakes good tidings upon us all. They don't do anything mara. Everything is a pala. So he said, Evi palaya. When the Vajir hear this, the other advisors, they go back to the king, the Raja, and they say to the Raja, that guy over there, he's your top guy. He's saying that it's a good thing that you've been cut. Tomorrow, someone comes to cut your throat, he'll probably be saying, that's a blessing too. Because you should get rid of that guy. So the king calls him over. He goes, did you say this is a pala? What's happened to me? His probably hand is bandaged up, he's got blood on his hand. And the Vajir goes, Hanji, Vaheguru kirpa kar diti. And he goes, Onu takka maar ke onu baar kar dita. He hits him and then he throws him out of the kingdom, banishes him in the kingdom. As he's being hit and as he's being thrown out of the kingdom, this Vajir that's at the highest level, everybody's paying respects to him. Before this day, he was like in the highest court as the most esteemed advisor to the king. As he's being thrown out of the kingdom, he gives the remarks. He goes, that Vaheguru has done pala upon me now, in this moment right now. And everyone's like, he's obviously a crackpot. Okay, he's saying it's good for his king to have been hurt. And now he's saying he's gone from riches to rags. He's been thrown out. How can he possibly say this is pala as well? So as he leaves the kingdom, he proclaims the blessings that have been bestowed upon him through the narrative of the kala of Vaheguru. The king, a time comes later, the king decides that he wants to visit the world. So what does he do? He puts all of his clothes, his worldly sort of royal kapare, his vase away. He takes on the vase of an ordinary person. He goes on a ship and he goes traveling. The Jahaj is in the water, traveling upon his path, and it breaks down. The details aren't given. Say that the sail breaks or there's no wind. And so the ship is buoyant in the water, it can't go anywhere. And everyone's like, we're going to suffer if we don't get going. And the wise people upon the ship, they say, we've got to make an offering to the samundar, to the beasts that live in this ocean. If we make a bali, if we make an offering of a sacrifice of blood of a human, then this will please the ocean. This is in the Sanatan Dharma, in the old ways. Don't confuse this with the Gursikhi. I don't want anyone going to the Nadi, the Vay Nadi, and start doing these evolutions, these sacrifices. This is from the Sanatan Dharma, from our before Gurmat came, before Gursikhi was blessed upon this earth. So the wise people say a very pure person who hasn't had contact with the opposite gender, who hasn't had any children, if you will, who is Buddha, who's complete, they must be the one that's an offering. So they go around and everybody one by one are discounting themselves. The crewmen and the passengers saying, like, I've got children, I'm a family man, it can't be. And one by one they discount themselves. What of the Raja? The Raja, what can he say? He's sitting there gupt, he's sitting there quiet. He can't now come out and explain that he's a big king of our land. He's left all of his royal ways behind to try and travel as a normal person to have that experience. After a while, they look to the Raja who sits as an ordinary man, and they say, he's not saying anything. He's obviously got nothing to speak in his defense. We'll offer him as the bali, we'll offer him as the sacrifice. So they get him, they tie him up, they're about to throw him over, and they notice that he's got a gouge in his hand, that he's not complete, that a part of his being is imperfect. And when they were making these bali, these offerings, these sacrifices, the being must be perfect and Buddha and complete. They go, he's adda, we can't use him as an offering. They bring him back as they're about to tip him over the edge. The king saved, he's like, he gets back to his kingdom, he thinks of the Vajir, because the Vajir saved me. He goes to the advisors, go and bring that Vajir back. The one that brought me, the one that gave me that wisdom that I was blind to see, that in my ignorance I couldn't see. And the Vajir is brought back. He goes, you saved me. He goes, Maaf karna. He goes, your words were true. He goes, but what I don't understand is you were speaking the truth. Because I hit you and I threw you out. He goes, how was that a blessing? He goes, the Vajir goes, had you not thrown me out, I would have been with you on that boat. And I'm fine. So I would have been next over. Sad Sangat Ji, this Sikhya is so universal. As I see some of you smiling, as I was undertaking the course, listening to Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji do the Katha, the Sangat in Punjab, when they heard the same Sikhya, these universal teachings, they were smiling too. What was really interesting, Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji, they go on to explain, they go, this isn't just a Sikhya from the old days. He goes on to explain his own personal circumstance. He goes, Parmeshwar Vaheguru, they never bear down with enmity upon us. They don't have enmity. We say nirvair. Every time we come and do discourse, we have a chance to share and grow together. We say the Mool Mantra of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, and we say nirvair. Sare japo ji, nirvair. Nirvair, meaning without enmity, without any animosity, without any person regarded or any being as an enemy of oneself, without hatred. Vaheguru says, Satgur andaro nirvair hai, sab dekhe Brahm ek soy. Satgur andaro nirvair hai, sab dekhe Brahm ek soy. That the Satguru that we have, they are nirvair. And Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji go on to explain from this example, they say, the advisors of the king would say that this king has had something bad happen to him, that the gods have cursed him, if you will. And this language can quickly get swallowed up by the mind, and people can live obsessed with these things in their mind. They can base their whole life upon the fact that they believe they've been cursed. There's someone out there sitting in the clouds doesn't like you, and you've been cursed in this way. But what does Maharaj say? They explain about Parmeshwar Vaheguru through the discourse that we've just heard from Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji. They explain in divine Gurbani, Satgur andaro nirvair hai. They don't have vair. So then what is these things that happen to us? These events that occur in our life that we've been conditioned, perhaps through our worldly education, and well-intentioned but ignorant persons that have interpreted our events, and they tell us it's bad, you've been suffering in this way. Maybe these aren't punishments at all. Maybe these are lessons that we have to learn. You know, I'll tell you something very personal. When I was in hospital with my Singani, I've told this to a few of the Singhs. I'll be very honest with you. It was probably the worst time of my life. In fact, definitely the worst, most painful, scary time of my life. And I was obviously thinking about my Singani, my family, as I'm caught up in the world in this way. I'll tell you what came to my mind the most as I'm reflecting upon my life. I'm thinking about all the people that I have wronged, that in my ego I've spoken to in a harsh way. That just because you know a bit of vidya, you think you can throw yourself about. You think that because you know a bit of knowledge that you can beat people with that as a weapon. No, Sad Sangat Ji. These gifts that we have can, if they take us to a place of ego that we're acting out, we have to learn a lesson. This is my personal internal intuition that Amardeep Singh, maybe you've got to be humbled. Maybe this is something you've got to learn. And what came to my mind over and over again was this person I'd spoken to disrespectfully. That person over there, maybe I could have given them a bit more daya, a bit more understanding. Maybe I didn't need to be so harsh in the way I spoke, or the way that I acted, or the way that I shunned. Just because we've got a truth on our side, because we might have an understanding of something, that truth is not there to be beating people with. They say even higher than truthful knowledge is truthful living. And again, one of my older brothers said to me when I was starting to do Gatha, he said, Amardeep Singh, your jivan should be prachar. You can sit on a stage, anybody can sit on a stage and they can do prachar. But what of the way you're living? How you're treating people around you? What fragrance emanates from you in just the way that you exist? Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, in just a few months, next month in fact, Gyani Hari Singh Ji, Randave Wala will be here. They'll be doing Katha here. You can listen to the words that they say, and if you're lucky enough and you get to sit quietly in their company, you'll get to feel the vibration of who they are. And that is Guru Sikhi. When you can sit in the company of someone and their fragrance is such that they imbue you with an understanding of what Gurmat is. Sad Sangat Ji, Gyani Harbhajan Singh Ji would give a teaching. Satgur andaro nirvair hai. They would say when they were 11 years old, they were ill for like a month. And so this is going back, they're quite old now. This is going back, I'm guessing that their second decade upon this earth would have been probably in the 50s. And probably in the 50s, in fact, or the 50s. When you get ill in the bend in the 50s and you've been ill for a month, that's a lot more serious perhaps than it is right now. He's been ill for a month, and Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji Khasa Pindranawale, their sevak, they come through the village and they see this young boy suffering. And they tell Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji about this, that there's this young boy suffering. Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji is the one that's attuned to the Shabad entirely, right? They say to the parents, we send him with me, we'll take care of him. And naturally they do ardas, without any other worldly medicine, his illness passes from their body. And Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji now sitting in their probably say 70s. They say, look at the blessing of that illness. I suffered for a month, but because of that suffering, now I sit before you, having been a student of Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji Khasa Pindranawale. It was because of that dukh that brought their sevak to our house. And now I'm doing the katha of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. Akho Satnam Sri. Sadh Sangat Ji, would anybody deny that which would have consumed the parents with fikr, worry and pain as something that they would wish away in an instant, with the benefit of Maharaj's own Maharaj, could anybody deny now that that was a gift? That it was an education, it was a blessing? Quite literally, the highest education in the world, Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji would go on to receive. Sadh Sangat Ji, the education is there for us to receive. If we carry on seeing the same events as a punishment or a curse or something that we wish we could wish away, we're going to be blind to what education we could receive if we were just open to what sikhya that we could learn from these things. Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they say, Satguru Data Dayal hai, Jisno Daya Sada Hoy. They say Satguru Data, that the Guru is the giver of all gifts. Dayal hai, and they're very, very compassionate in their actions. Jisno Daya Sada Hoy. When are they compassionate? Is it sometimes? Is it Fridays? No, all the times. Jisno Daya Sada Hoy. So if this is our Guru, we can come to our Guru and say, Yo Maharaj, I'm going through a lot of pain right now in this situation. Firstly, I'm grateful for that because it's brought me to you. Echoing the example of Gyani Gurbachan Singh Ji's own life, right? When do we come to the Guru Ka to do ardas, to take away our dukh? When we are in the midst of dukh, right? When do we come to the Guru Ka to wash away the difficulties of our circumstances? When do we have the most dhyan as we sit before the Guru's charan? How are we most able to find time when we otherwise have none to wash the pande of the Sangat? It's when we're in dukh. So first and foremost, if we can open up our hearts from a place of gratitude and say, Yo Maharaj, wherever it was that you've aspired, wherever it was that you have conspired for my benefit, be shukrana. You've brought me into your charan. And Sadh Sangat Ji, just for a moment, have this understanding, there's no bargaining here. When we have that shukrana in our heart, and we open up our minds to the potential to receive the sikhya, the education that will come from that, in no way is our Guru's condition improved. It's all to gain. It's all to gain. If by coming to the Guru, we open up our hearts from a place of gratitude and have shukrana, and change what we view as a punishment to an opportunity to learn and to grow, it's only us that gains. Why would we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow? In every other field of life, if somebody were to give us an opportunity in a commercial sense, whether it would be headhunted for another company, in a relationship sense, if it was a proposed rishta that would give you the ability to move forward and upward, in a financial sense, if the base rate was to drop like it did today, 0.25%, I'm sure some of us are feeling that blessing coming in September. In any which way, we would never deny the opportunity. We wouldn't phone Barclays and say, listen, I know the base rate's dropped. There's the opportunity for my variable mortgage to go down, but keep it as it is. Sadh Sangat Ji, why do we deny ourselves the opportunity that seeming dukh, that seeming worldly pain presents? Why would we deny ourselves the opportunity to grow with that? The mind cannot grow. The mind cannot grow from the same state it was in that created the problem that's before us. The mind cannot grow from the same state of mind that created the problem that we're currently in. The only way that we can move through that is to grow over it. If you think about it, if your mind could overcome that problem in the current state it was already in, it wouldn't be a problem in the first place. So what does that mean? It means the dukkha that we have, that we can't surmount, that we can't overcome right now, if it's going to help, if we're going to go past that, we have to grow. Sadh Sangat Ji, in Vidya sense, when we practice Shastra Vidya, when we practice the knowledge of weapons, whatever knowledge of weapons that might be, there's a common, universal, accepted rule that you must move or you will die. This is universal to all arts. Whether you're doing Gatka, Shastra Vidya, Silat, Thai boxing, if you do not move, you will die. Movement is medicine. In the ring, in the akhada, in the battle of life and death, in the life that we live. And if we're not moving, if we're stationary, or even in fact, if we're moving backwards, and an obstacle presents itself, but it presents itself in such a way that it forces us to grow or to move, using the same analogy, then that is a dua, that is a blessing, right? What does Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji give us that we can take as such a great example? Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj is one that we can really use to help us reconcile our own life's problems. Listen very carefully to this, Sadh Sangat Ji. As fickle as our mind might be, the example of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji and what I'm going to share with you now will hopefully help us all wrestle with some of the difficulties that we're facing in our lives. We think, just to remind ourselves of the starting position, that I do my part every morning, I don't hurt anybody, I don't backchat, or whatever it is that you might consider as our gun, right? So why are these things befalling me? Why am I having to suffer in my relationship? Why am I having to deal with this health situation? Why is it that I'm having to suffer in this way? Sadh Sangat Ji, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the youngest son of Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji Maharaj, Miri Pir de Malak, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, the father of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, they would spend 26 years, 9 months and 13 days in a Paura Sahib, in a hole in the ground, vibrating upon the Guru Mantra of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. For 26 years, 9 months and 13 days, Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj would sit undertaking tapasya on Parmeshwar Vaheguru with Mata Gujri Ji, with their faithful, loyal wife. After undertaking that much Simran, that much union, that much remembrance, that much perfection, they would leave the Paura Sahib and they would have to go on to witness what was their karam. What was, not that they had any karam to bear out in this world, because they're obviously God, right? But what was the events that they would then go on to have to witness? They would see their beloved disciples by Mati Das Ji being sawn in half in front of them. They'd have to endure that. They would have to see Bhai Sati Das Ji wrapped in cotton wool and have a fire set in their flesh for not converting to Islam. They would have to see Bhai Diyala Ji boiled alive in a cauldron whilst they recited Sri Sukhmani Sada Part. Then Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji themselves, having been tortured for many days, would have their head cut from their body in the worldly sense. Again, how do you cut the head of that one that is beyond this world? But just using the worldly analogy. How can we reconcile Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj has done 27 years nearly of Simran? 26 years, 9 months and 13 days. And yet, this is what they are coming out of the Paura to receive? Sadh Sangat Ji, what Sikhya does Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji give us in their Bani to help us understand this? In Rag Sorat, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji themselves, what do they say? They say, Jo nar dukh mein dukh nahi manne, sukh saneho ar pene jaake kanchan mati manne. Rahao. They say, Jo nar, that being, dukh mein, in the midst of dukh, That being who in the midst of dukh nahi manne. They won't have to man the dukh. They don't have to endure that as punishment. What does this mean, Sadhguru? The beauty of Sikhi is so deep. Maharaj is saying, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj is giving us this teaching. They're saying it's not the case that if you undertake those positive actions that bring you close to God, it's not the case that if you do those things, you won't have obstacles in your life. It is the case, Sadh Sangat Ji, that when those obstacles present themselves to you, by the work we've undertaken, they won't be obstacles for us. So Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj was able to endure that. And what would they say at the Shahidi of their beloved Gursikhs? They would say, Tan Sikhi, Tan Sikhi. As they would watch by Mati Das Ji being sawn in half, they were in Anand. As by Sati Das Ji was being burned alive, they would fall towards Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji as a dandot. They would say, even though my body is being ripped to shreds by these flames, even now I'm in Anand, and this is not an obstacle for me. They would fall in a straight line. They would do one last matha take to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. By Dayala Ji, incidentally, whilst they're being boiled alive in that cauldron, what kind of state of mind are they in? They are not in a cauldron suffering terrifying pain, paralyzing, terrifying pain by boiling water, ripping away at their flesh. What are they doing? They are Ad Guru e Namahe, Jugad Guru e Namahe, Sat Guru e Namahe, Sri Guru Dev e Namahe, Ashtapati. They are vibrating upon the Sukun of the body. They are in Sukh in their mind. So what is Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj saying to us? They're saying, when things present themselves in the worldly sense to people of the world as obstacles, they will be just that. There will be an obstacle that will consume you, that will cut you in half, that will burn you alive, that will boil you alive. Just as many of us have been consumed and obsessed by the obstacles that present themselves in our lives, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj is saying that if you connect yourself to the Shabad, it's not the case that those same things won't happen, but you won't be consumed by them. That you'll better deal with those things. That you will look at those things and you'll realize you've got a choice. You haven't got a man the dukh. It can just pass over you. And Sadh Sangat Ji, that is the gift of Gursikhi. Sadh Sangat Ji, we have to reframe the way that we think, because oftentimes we've been so indoctrinated with a Western sort of transactional understanding that I've done my Japji Sahib. Why did I get a bad email when I refresh the screen? This sort of transactional sort of mentality that we have, that I've done this, so why did that happen? No, it's not the case that doing good things won't mean that those things won't happen. It just means that you won't be consumed by them, and they won't have power over you, because the Guru has set you free. And this is the gift of what it means to understand that I do my part, why do bad things happen? If you have a chance to recognize, even in the question, is the blessing that you have the Sikhya to reflect and go, whoa, why is this going on? Why is this happening? There are so many people in the world that just get taken by that river of pain. They don't even chance to reflect. They're just drowning in it. Even to reflect from a place of Gurmat, what are we doing in that moment? We are doing Gurmat Vichar. We are philosophizing. We are in a relationship with our Guru, right? Who are we talking those words to? When we reflect inwardly, say, yo, Maharaj, what's going on, man? In that moment, even that is the blessing. Sadh Sangat Ji, if we ever have an opportunity to drown, look at the language I'm using specifically. If we ever have an opportunity to drown in a surprise, in a circumstance, recognize that it's our choice whether we drown or whether we take that as a Sikhya and we grow and we fly. And it really is a choice. Sadh Sangat Ji, that is the gift of the Guru Sikhya. Maharaj says, Jo nar dukh mein, dukh nahi manne, sukh sanneho ar pehne jaake kanchan mati mane. That one that will look upon love and happiness and pain as no difference, just like gold and dust are the same thing. What does Maharaj say about that Gursikh? Nanak leen payo gobindasyo jo pani sang pani. Maharaj goes on, I'm just shortening the Shabad. They go on to explain that one has become one. with the Guru. How? Jo pani sang pani, the way that water has merged with water. Sadh Sangat Ji, next time we get a diagnosis, next time we get an email about redundancy or whatever it might be, that whatever taklif that comes into our life, have a chance to reflect. Is this a punishment? I don't believe that that's the case. I genuinely don't believe, sitting before you in the most difficult time of my life right now. Honest to God, I'll tell you, we're sitting before the Guru. I'm facing the most difficult time of my entire life. In the last few months, I've never experienced emotions that I've experienced in the last few months. As it knocked the wind out of me to hear the news that I've heard. I'm sincere in what I say, that Maharaj doesn't do any vair. They don't know enmity. They don't even know of that concept towards their Gursikh. Maharaj says, Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj explains this to us. They say that it's not vair. If it's not vair, Sadguru Sabanada Pala Manaida. Sadguru Sabanada Pala Manaida. Tisda Bura Kyo Hoy. Guru Sahib says that Parameshwar Vaheguru Sabna Pala Manaida. All that they do is give us his blessings. They don't do anything but give us blessings. Tisda Bura Kyo Hoy. If that's the case, then how can anything bad happen to you? What Maharaj is saying, as you read that on the face value, you think, yeah, but I got demoted at work, but yeah, I'm going through this. Maharaj is not saying that that's not going to happen to you. They're saying that it's not necessarily bad. I've assumed, Amdeep Singh, that that's a bad thing. Tista Bura Kyo Hoy. Kyo means how. In Gurmukhi, Kyo doesn't mean why, like in Punjabi, Kyo means how. Tista Bura Kyo Hoy. Maharaj says that how can anything bad happen to you if Vaheguru, if Sadguru Ji only does pala? The answer is it's not bad. There is nothing bad that is happening to us in the house, in the sanctuary of the Guru. No. Sadguru Pala, Sadguru Sabana, everybody with no exclusions. Sadguru Sabana da Pala Manaida. Tisda Bura Kya Hoy. Nothing bad can happen. It's just whether we've got in our state of mind the ability to accept that. Sadh Sangat Ji, many of us, up until this point in life, haven't, including me. And I'm still working with it now. I won't say to you I'm not struggling. I'll be very honest with you. Most people are trying to pretend they've got it all together. I struggle. I'm struggling, you know. But that doesn't change the truth of the message. The fact that I'm struggling doesn't in any way undermine the fact that I have struggled, and that on days I do struggle, doesn't in any way undermine the truth, the satyai of the Guru's message. And what is that message? That message is that Sadguru Sabanada Pala Manaida Tista Bura Kya Hoy. Just before that, Maharaj says, if you don't accept this, if you want to go to war with that one that has no enemies, you're going to come up short and you're going to suffer. You're never going to be content. Maharaj says, Nirvera Nal. Nirvera Nal. That one that is Nirvera, that has no enemies, right? Nirvera Nal Je Ver Chalaide. Maharaj says, Nirvera Nal Je Ver Chalaide. If you choose to go to war and do Ver with that one that has no Ver within them, what will happen? Tin Vicho Tistya Na Koi. Maharaj says, Nirvera Nal Je Ver Chalaida Tin Vicho Tistya Na Koi. All that will happen is that you'll know no contentment within you. Sadh Sangat Ji, I don't know where this is come from. I know this elderly lady. 40 years ago, she was separated from her husband. And there was all sorts of reasons why. That's not the relevant point of this vichar. And there's not been a time I can recall since what happened 40 years ago that she doesn't speak about her bura hal. Now, I'm not dismissing the pain that she has felt, but at no point has she looked to move beyond that. So for her state of mind, that this has been a bad thing that has been acted out upon me, she has gone on to do Vair with God. And Vaheguru's condition is unchanged by that. But I look back on the last 40 years of her life, and I just think it could have been a different way for you. I'm not denying your innocence in what befell you. I'm not denying that this wasn't an unpleasant experience. I'm not, especially right now, I'm not lacking compassion. Right now, probably this is the most compassionate you're going to catch me. I'm listening to everyone's dukh right now because I've got such an understanding of what dukh is. You only know dukh if you're in dukh, right? I'll be very honest with you about where I'm at right now. So I'm not disregarding of her dukh, especially not right now. But I do think, what could have been your way if you chose not to do Ved? So Sad Sangat Ji, let's reframe our mind. Let's start reframing our state of mind. And the frame of mind that we want to conjure is not, why is this happening to me? Or how quickly is this going to completely destroy me? All these things that we start measuring ourselves with, which is really, really painful to have to witness, yeah? What we should be looking to do is say, what sikhya is it that I'm due? And the reason I share the example of me in hospital, me in hospital watching my Singani in a bed for 3 weeks, sleeping on the floor, eating hospital food, suffering in the way that she was. What am I thinking? I'm thinking of all the things intuitively. My subconscious mind is playing back all these people that I've wronged. What sikhya is this? Be Amardeep Singh Kallu, you're going to get another mokka, you're going to get another opportunity, but who do you want to be in that situation? Very simple, but it's a worldly example. So I'll put my car on charge. I had to drop my little one she went to a Sikhi camp. And I was on the M6 going towards the Midlands. And basically, as I plugged my car in to start charging it, one of the ladies, she goes, you've got to be careful here. These are old chargers. As you plug your car in, someone can just come along and press the button, it stops it, they can pull it out, they can start charging their car. And I'm quick to anger. I'm quick to anger in most situations. So I've gone in and my phone pings. My phone pings that your charging stopped. Turned around, normally I'm thinking this is an opportunity to practice vidya. I'm thinking I can this is a good opportunity now. All the cards are written for me now. I can go and do what I want because this person's in the wrong. Yeah? And it's like about ticking off all the boxes. Am I justified now to go and practice? And I thought to myself, Amardeep Singh, that was genuinely in my mind. Whoever's unplugged my car, it's going to be a guy, he's going to have a muscle car there, it's going to be great fun. And I thought, Amardeep Singh, have you learned nothing, man? Are you so quick? Is that how small that dukh is? You're making all these promises in your mind, I'm changed, I'm going to think, I'm going to do this, my mindset is now learned, I've learned the lesson. Someone unplugs your car and you're going to go and do Ved with them. What if they're on the way to the hospital? What if there's a pregnant lady in the car? Why are you so quick to assume that their journey is not more important than yours? You weren't there to be asked. If you were there and they said, look, I'm in a real hurry. Do you mind if I unplug your car? I could plug mine in. What were you going to say? Of course you would say, Guru Pyari Sat Sangat Ji, but in that moment, we're quick to forget. And so we have this wonderful word that we've said so many times, and I invite you to say it out loud now as if you've never said it before. And that word means, quite literally, to remain in remembrance. And that word is Simran. Everybody say Simran.
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 Simran does mean to recite the name of God. Simran on a high level means to recite the name of God in a state of remembrance. I want to be one with you. I am a part of you, and it is my purpose to become one with you once again. Everybody say Simran.
Simran.
Or we can say Vahe Guru.
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 The mind cannot solve a problem from the same state of consciousness that created it. In other words, if there's a problem in your life, the only way that you can overcome that problem is to grow. And if something makes you grow, It's your choice if you see it as a problem in the first place, or an opportunity, or an education, or a sikhya. Sad Sangat Ji, there's so much more. I always say this because it's always true. There's so much we prepare for fear of running out of what to share. And there's so much more I wanted to share. I'm going to just share one last example that is so beautiful from our history. There was a great example of a great war, Sad Sangat Ji. Listen very carefully to this. There was a great war where the Mughals had lined up their greatest warriors. Raja Kesari Chand was there. 1,57,000 fauj aaya. The Mughal Raj were there. They'd given qasam that they're going to destroy Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. They'd made oaths that we're going to kill Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj, who was in Anandpur Sahib, the Qilla. They'd lined up 157,000 soldiers. They're crying, Marlo, Marlo, Khalsa nu Marlo. They're going to kill the Khalsa, decimate the Khalsa, and cut off the head of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. And they bring forward this Jang Hathi, this great big black dark elephant. And the elephant's got 7 plates of steel put on it. It's been filled with alcohol to consume its mind. They can't know any fear. It's got soldiers behind it smashing it in the back with spears, Nije Barshe, driving it forwards. The Jang Hathi's been sent to smash the doors down of Anandpur Sahib, the Qilla, where Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj is, and allow the forge of Guru Apne Raja Kesari Chand and the Mughals to come and wipe out the Khalsa. The Khalsa are 1,100 in number, just over around 1,100 in number. And Maharaj says to one that are there, they go, this elephant is being let loose upon us. You're a great soldier. Duni Chand, his name was. He goes, you're going to be let loose to go and fight the Jang Hathi tomorrow. You're going to get to go and fight that Jang Hathi and smash it down so that we could be victorious. All night, Duni Chand, he's consumed with fear. He goes to see Bhai Daya Singh, goes, how can I fight this elephant? I'm going to get done. It's over for me. Duni Chand is speaking this way, and Bhai Daya Singh says, has faith. Your Maharaj has given you this problem. They're going to solve it for you as well. Don't worry. But Duni Chand or koi kisi da karne mande, what do? They jump from the castle fortress wall in the middle of the night. They break their leg and they limp off and they run home to their village, thinking that they're safe. They go home that day. The next day, when they wake up, the Khalsa, they wake into the rising sun as the Mughals are beginning to prepare to attack. And the news comes to Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj that Duni Chand has run away. And Maharaj says, Koina, they know everything anyway. Yeah, they know everyone's hearts. What do? They say, there's another opportunity now for my beloved. Who's going to come forward? And they make the call 3 times, and then by Bajitra Singh Ji, they come forward. Their name is Bahuru, then their nickname in our itihas, their name is Bhai Bajitra Singh Ji, but their nickname is Bahurupiya, because they were so splendid. They would always so handsomely be dressed. They'd have different color bane on every day, colorful bane. They would never wear the same bana twice, and they were regarded as Bahurupiya. Bahurupiya by Bajitra Singh Ji. Maharaj goes, see that elephant that you can see, this big monster of a beast, covered in 7 iron plates, yeah, intoxicated, surrounded by hundreds of thousands of soldiers. You're going to go and have that one. By Bajitra Singh Ji, because they've got the Sikhya. They see the same elephant, but their mind is not consumed by the problem because they've grown. From the Guru Shabad, the Guru Sangat, they've grown. They say, in our itihas, is written in Guru Pratap Suraj Granth, Kabir Singh Tokchan Ji explains, what does Bhai Bajitra Singh Ji say? They say, Your Maharaj, it's already done. Even if Indra Devta sends their Jang Hathi from the heavens to come and do Muqabla with me on the battlefield, I will deal with them too. I'll go into the depths of all the mountains and I'll bring back all the elephants' heads that you want. It's already done. Maharaj, they're going to be praising me until time immemorial, but they won't know that it was your kirpa. It was your blessings. Sad Sangat Ji, how can 2 people in the exact same situation, one is seeing death and destruction and can't sleep all night. Bhai Bajitra Singh Ji is seeing the opportunity to fight this Jang Hathi. They're seeing the opportunity. What am I going to learn from the Pantara? that I have to deploy? What weapon is Maharaj going to give me to help me deal with this to deal with this monster that's going to be presented? Maharaj is given the problem, right? They're going to give the solution too. As it happens, Guru Maharaj will give the Nagani Barsha, the most beautiful spear made of kali. We ain't got time to go into the detail of the Ityas. Suffice to say, you can even to this day go to Anandpur Sahib, the Qila, and look upon the beauty of the gift of the Shastra that could have gone to Duni Chand if he only saw the opportunity to learn. But it was given to Bhai Bajittar Singh Ji. Even to this day, you can go and see the Nagani Barsha. The same two people faced with the same war elephant and the same 157,000 soldiers. One has jumped from the wall, broken his leg, and run home. Incidentally, when he gets home, he gets bitten by a snake and he dies anyway. You run with fear in your mind, that fear is still with you. Don't think for a second you can run from fear. But if you have the courage, Sadh Sangat Ji, or let me rephrase that. If you're lucky enough to be in the Sangat, that they can be your support and that they can grow you to a place where you can deal with things. If you have the luck to be in the Sangat, bin Bhagda Sat Sangat na labbe. If you're lucky by the grace of the Guru to be in the Sangat, then you can have that sort of Bhai Bajittar Singh Ji. So Sadh Sangat Ji, time is always against us as we try to share the Khajana that is boundless, that is limitless. You are the Sangat of Sri Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj. The main spine of the Sikhya which we're trying to share today is that Vaheguru is Nirvaira, that they are Nirvaira. They don't know any enmity, they don't know any hatred. Let's change our mind from that state of mind. Why are you punishing me? Why am I suffering? To what is the Sikhya? What is the education? What is the growth that we can have from this circumstance? And in this way, there's endless opportunities to be grateful and say, Ebi Data, Teri Data. Even this is a gift from you, O great giver. So you are the Sangat of Sri Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj. We must have made many mistakes. We lekhe kathe na chutiye khin khin pulanhar baksanhar baksale nanak paare utar. Vaheguru Ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki fateh.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.